Can you keep pace with the evolving ESG landscape? The 2024 certificate in ESG investing has been updated with the latest research and insights to help you become the in-house expert at your organization. Register today at cfainstitute.org/ESG certificate. That's cfainstitute.org/ESG certificate.
Welcome to Compound Insights, a podcast by CFA Society New York. I'm your host, Rob Rowan. Today we're talking about something that's exceptionally interesting to me, as it is company disclosures as they refer to in ESG compliance, becoming a really important thing for analysts, portfolio managers, etc. Today we're talking with Martina Tessari. She is the head of Europe and Global Sustainability Lead for Accountability for Sustainability, which for heretofore will be called A4S. It was founded by His Majesty King Charles III in 2004 when he was the Prince of Wales. Previously, Martina was with EY, where she worked on CFO advisory. Prior to that, she worked for an accountant and audit firm in Italy, and she got her BA and her master's from the University in Padua. And she is an ACCA Chartered Certified Accountant. So, Martina, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Rob. Pleasure to be here.
So I'm really interested in hearing your views and what you have learned about a very important issue for the people who use company disclosures of many different types. So can you give us an idea of what's happening and share what you think that A4S's work has had an impact on in this realm?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. Well, historically, business performance has been measured and reported in financial terms, of course, but more recently, there's been compelling evidence that a broader set of information is required to give a comprehensive picture of a business ability to survive and prosper. And because environmental, social, and governance issues are relevant to that business performance and value creation, without the right information, businesses nor stakeholders and shareholders will be able to make fully informed decisions. And so a growing body of regulation, standards, guidance has developed to provide a structure for the measurement and the reporting of sustainability-related issues and performance. So various initiatives arose in the past year. So we've seen the GRI or Global Reporting Initiative, the TCFD or Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosures, and more recently many others. A4S launched with GRI, one of them in 2010, the International Integrated Reporting Committee, or IIRC, which then developed the Integrated Reporting Framework. So as last year, a survey by KPMG showed that 96% of the largest 250 companies in the world now report sustainability and on sustainability and prepare sustainability reports. But however, with all of these voluntary frameworks, there is the risk of a lack of consistency, lack of comparability, and this is obviously a big deal for investors. And without global mandatory reporting standards at par or connected to financial reporting, then the quality and comparability of all those information may be really poor or limited. And some jurisdictions have developed some mandatory frameworks. In particular, in the EU, we've seen this introduction of the CSRD and the ESRS. So apologies for using lots of acronyms here. But
well, I'm sure all the listeners were ready for that. So we didn't talk about IFRS yet.
And I'm getting there because, of course, the IFRS Foundation established the ISSB, so the International Sustainability Standards Board, in 2021 to really bring together some of those existing frameworks and bodies to really promote convergence and to develop a global baseline of mandatory standards. Now, there are now two standards that were launched in summer of last year, and they are ready for adoption by jurisdictions as of this year, and many jurisdictions have signaled or pledged to require adoption of those standards. And then, of course, in the US, we're awaiting on the SEC climate disclosure rules, which we are expecting now for April this year.
Yeah, now for April this year. Yeah, I've been hearing about that one for a while. So
that might change.
Yeah. Well, I think you underscore two things that are exceptionally important there. One is the lack of comparability, which is a huge bugbear for investors because benchmarking is all you really do with this. If you can't benchmark, what do you do? And I do hear a lot of people in the industry saying, don't let perfection be the bugbear of finished. But I think that's a little bit difficult to do. So, with the organizations that you all work with and you see, how are they getting ready for the requirements? And are there challenges in addition to the simple comparability that I pointed out just now?
Yeah, 100%, Rob. So first of all, many of the organizations we work with have a global presence, so they are very likely to be subject to multiple reporting requirements. So for them, it's really important to understand, what do I really need to focus on? How do I change this from being a compliance exercise to something that is truly driving decision making within the business, but also for our investors? So the first thing they'd be looking at is materiality, which is really that piece of work is really the thing that can bring focus to their efforts with regards to disclosures, and can really and should really be linking it to the strategy and the business operations within the organization. Obviously, those materiality determination are highly subjective. They require professional judgment, assessment of different qualitative and quantitative considerations, and more importantly, consultation with a wider set of stakeholders. And obviously, there is no universal definition of materiality yet, because we know that in the EU, there is a focus on double materiality, so a wider stakeholder group, while the SSB, for example, of the SEC rules focus more on a kind of an investor lens type of materiality. This is quite difficult exercise, and standard setters and regulators are putting out quite some guidance. But this is definitely the key point and the starting point to really narrow down the scope and support that communication, not just in terms of disclosure, but even on the kind of extra reporting, if you want, engagement with investors as well. The second point worth making is in relation to data. Of course, most large organizations are getting ready on their ESG data and reporting capabilities. Many of them are planning to increase investment on software's workforce capabilities over the next few years. But of course, they admit at this stage they're still evolving in their practice in terms of how data is collected, how it's managed, the quality of that data. They're kind of focusing on environmental data first, because it appears to be easier and easier to quantify and with clearer measures, if you want, and compared to what is for social in nature. And then, although many believe that they feel ahead of their peers in terms of sustainability reporting, again, this is based on a KPMG survey, which was issued recently. Many continue to rely on highly manual data collection, spreadsheets. So really almost half of them are still using this system. So in many large organizations, this is obviously evolving, but we have to acknowledge that is what it is at the moment.
Yeah, it's AI is not there yet. It's
Yeah.
so I guess maybe we could shift this a little bit to investors, because they one of the important stakeholders, and how they who's looking at this and how some of the standards have been structured. So what do you all think the investors, people who use these disclosures, should be looking at most closely, and why? And parenthetically, today is the last day of CFA New York's research challenge. We have teams in here, and I just wanted, if your CFA New York members are looking at this, you might want to take a look at the case that they were given, because there is one little ESG thing stuck into a part of this company's report that is not at all where it should be, in my opinion. So, so members, take a look at this, because this is live. So, but what do you think investors should be looking at, or what should the students in the research challenge be looking at?
That's an interesting question, Rob. So first of all, I think investors should be part of that materiality assessment that I talked to earlier, and really make sure they fully understand that and the context of why and what those metrics and quantitative data that are disclosed, what they mean in the context of the materiality assessment. But also the other thing is really understanding the qualitative information, and the narrative reporting is as key as looking at those measures. And I know that investors obviously looking at that data, but without really understanding the narrative reporting, if you want, it's very difficult to contextualize and understand the future performance of that organization. And obviously that's why we always advocate for concise reports and what we're hearing from investors is also that they benefit from it. It's far from their interests having huge amounts of data, although they say they're going to use it, but actually they are struggling as well. They also feel the pressure from asset owners, regulatory pressures, fund labeling requirements that really impact their information needs. So it's really overwhelming for everybody. And recognition that organizations are on a journey, I think it's very important. So data will get better, but also the use of that data and the understanding of the data from the investor angle will get better.
Mhm. Well, I guess this is one of the other things that is a challenge to a lot of asset owners is setting up a process that they can use. Some of them have spent a lot of time, effort, and energy on setting up processes. I'm referring mainly to the Canadian provincial asset owners. They have done a lot of work on this, but still bumped into a lot of the same problems that everyone else is. So it's but yeah, the advice about setting up a process is a very good one. So well, thank you. Perhaps we should leave it there. I think that I would encourage everyone to take a look at the report that Martina mentioned a few times. You can Google it and find it. It's out there in the world. And go have a look at A4S's website because they have a couple of case studies on there that might be exceptionally valuable to people who are listening to the podcast. So, Martina, thank you for being here.
And thank you, Rob, for the opportunity.
And thank you to everyone listening to this podcast. Until next time, I'm Rob Rowan, and this has been Compound Insights.